Is your heart racing? It's like, awesome, just awesome. Okay, so show me. This concept of show me, and Jay Willick did it in the meditation too. Show me. It's like we're talking to something in ourselves, saying, show me my higher self, show me my greater self, show me that this really works, show me that I really am God, show me. But who are we talking to? Thank you, Doug. That's really the question I keep asking myself. I'm like, who? Show me. Who? Show me. It's like, oh my God, I'm my mother, my daughter, my mother, my daughter. It's like, show me. So I want to talk today. I want to talk today about the greater self. It is funny. It's not that Rafe sent me songs that I didn't resonate to. His catalog is spectacular, and I hope you all walk home with. You do have CDs, right? I hope you all take one home with you, because I want to blast that one in my car to and from NoHo. So it wasn't that I didn't resonate. It's just that I've said so much about some of the things he said, and then this one came across, and I was like, okay, the show me state. Let's do that. The greater self. But I want to start with what actually is the greater self. Because I think we all think we know what that means. And I want to make sure we're clear about something. That it's not something outside of ourselves. And, even the idea it's my divine self puts me personally in a state of duality. Because it means that there's a part of me that isn't my divine self. And that's just not where I'm going anymore, and I refuse to go there anymore. And I will be duality's greatest challenger in that for the rest of my life, where I will refuse to let myself believe that there's any part of me, yes, that is not God. So it is really important, is it the self that I aspire to be? And when I say I aspire to be my greater self, am I still saying there's something better than what I am right now? I hope not. And you know how I feel about hope. So is it something that looms off in the distance, or is it the greater self? Is the greater self something that exists right here, right now, in whatever shape I happen to be in, just waiting for me to recognize it? Because it is innate. It's who I am. And it doesn't matter, as I said, in what shape I'm in. It doesn't matter what's going on in my life. And I think way too often, too many people, when challenging things happen in their life, rather than take the moment to understand that God is still here now, we back up and leave the very thing that will save us. When people talk about being saved by Jesus, I don't have a problem with that anymore. I'm saved by Jesus every time I remember what he stood for. I'm saved from my challenges every time I remember that Jesus said, it is done unto you as you believe. Stop believing that. Jesus was from the Bronx. But think about that. How many times, and I know you're all guilty of it, because I'm guilty of it, and I refuse to think you're not. Aren't we guilty? We tend to walk away from or shy away from. I have people that say to me, I haven't been to church for a few weeks. It's been challenging. I'm like, it's been challenging and you haven't come to church? No. If it's challenging, get to church. I think some people think they should only show up here when they're ready to sing and dance and show us all that they're happy. I'd prefer that. But I think we need to get a real grip on the idea that we are our greater self in any situation at all. Yes? Yes. That's what I'm here to talk about today. My greater self is not something different than who I am. It is not something that I will aspire to, and it is not outside of me. It is exactly here right now. And right where you are right now, right where you are sitting, no matter what's going on in your life, you are your greater self. And that goes for anyone who is sick, anyone who is making their transition. They are their greater self. And they will be their greater self as they transition onward. We do not get to be less than who we are because of the relative facts in our life. There is no such thing as the relative. There is only the absolute. There is only God. And we say it all the time. All there is God. But we really do compartmentalize that and say, all there is God. Except for this. Except for him, and definitely except for her. So I want to talk a little bit today about a mother's love. Because, a mother's love to me, is the kind of love that sees the greater self effortlessly, just innately. It's that energy within us. There is an energy in us, a mother's energy in us, that literally dictates us to see everything perfectly, to see, especially our children. When my son said to me, "Can I wear a kilt to the gala?" Right after that, he said, and I would like to go commando. I was still dealing with the kilt when he hit me with the commando. And I said, "What if you fall on the dance floor? What if you twirl and it pops up?" And he went. So I have no idea what he was wearing last night under that kilt. But I do know, and then he showed up with bleached hair. I know. The apple in the tree, it's like, wow. So I have always wanted to bleach my hair blonde. Do not dare me. I will show up here with blonde hair. I'm kidding. No. So a mother's love, back to me, a mother's love is a love that transcends everything and sees their child perfect. And I watched that last night. But it's not just a mother's love in a mother who has a child. It's the mother's love that is inherent within each and every one of us. I'm in touch with my feminine, in case you hadn't noticed. I'm in touch with, I've wanted to be a mother since the day I was born. I did. Yes, I'm a father, but I've wanted that experience, and I don't want it to stop at a father's experience. I want it to be a mother, father, God experience. Understanding that I am comprised of both of those energies, and so are you, every single one of you. The feminine energy is receptive and creative. Whenever I teach the masculine, feminine energies, I know it's difficult for some people because it seems sexist. But I'm not going there today. I want to just talk about this concept of the feminine energy being receptive because it receives all of the good, all of the God that is out there, and creates from it brilliantly, perfectly. Phineas Quimby said this, thank you to Rita Andriello this morning: "The love which flows from a woman's soul can be compared to the heat from a fire which is thrown equally all around." Isn't that beautiful? Phineas Quimby, the father of New Thought. So there is a part of you who recognizes and knows who you really are. And Sharon's quote, perfect. When I know who I am, success is guaranteed. So there is a part of you that absolutely knows who you are. And that person is the greater self. And that greater self you carry with you wherever you go. You don't evolve into it. I know that we are constantly evolving. That's just the nature of the energy. That's my nature. I will always evolve, but not into something better than this moment. Can you get that cerebrally? Can we get that intellectually and then understand it emotionally? I don't grow into something better, which therefore make myself less than here. I'm not thinking I'm going to be my greater self someday, but right now I'm not. I'm understanding. In fact, I don't get to my greater self until I recognize it right here. And when you really get to your greater self, when you're in your biggest challenge, and you still feel this way. You still know it. Ernest Holmes says, there is a perfect pattern, and we believe in it. And the perfect pattern is where we are, not somewhere else. There is a perfect pattern. My greatest self is right here, and so is yours. The gala last night, I got to see everyone's greater self. And what's really awesome, and as I sat here today in this energy, I realized that you took that energy, that beautiful community spirit, and this truly is the most magnificent community. It really is. You should, yes. Last night, to be surrounded by 100, we were totally sold out. We had 174 seats to sold. We sold 174 seats. And feeling that energy last night, we've never had a gala that was where everyone was on the dance floor at the same time. It was just, and I say thank you to Jason Henson for that. Yes. There he is. Woo! So what was really exciting to me last night, and I have to tell you, I went home last night and sat down to look at what I was going to talk about. I read what I wrote and I deleted it. I was like, oh no. Oh no, not after I saw what I saw tonight. You know, I mean, I was literally trying to figure out who won the Cleavage Award. And Lisa Stanley wasn't even there. So there you go. So I will tell you who won that award. I'm sure you all know. It was Karen Mitchell won the Cleavage Award, yes. So it was just this spectacular evening of talking about mother energy. It was this, I know, William, yes. Did you see your mother when she left the house? So it was just watching this last night and knowing that Rafe was going to sing The Greater Self. My prayer last night as I deleted my talk and started over, my prayer last night was that every single person that was on that dance floor would stay consciously on that dance floor for the rest of their lives. And that we would not suddenly feel that we weren't that energy that was there last night. And that energy shows up in meditation. It's not that I have to be literally challenging muscles I didn't know I had. It literally is that energy can go anywhere I go, no matter what I'm doing. And I suddenly got it. I was like, oh my God, that's the energy. That's the greater self. Expressing itself with such abandon that I swear to God, there were more Elaines from Seinfeld dancing last night. Remember? And they were doing it and not caring. And the people around them weren't judging them much. It was really awesome. And I thought to myself, you know, people I never expected to get up and dance were dancing. And you know, that's really what it's about. That's the greater self. That's God showing you a good time. And we're really here to have God show us a good time. But you can't be shown a good time if you don't show up and let it happen. Right? So, okay. Ernest Holmes says, I believe that we are not one in God, or one with God, but one of God. And that was from last week's seminar lectures. I believe that we are not one in God, we are not one with God, but we are one of God. Every single person in this room is God, bouncing off of one another. God having its own jamboree. Remember those, you know, those things the kids play in with all the balls? Okay, it's this big box. I don't ever like to go in there. I just don't know how children can get in that box and not come out with a broken head. And you know why? Because God's in there with them, bouncing around all over the place. That's really what this greater self is all about. And it's right here, right where I am. And again, what I really want to get across today is it's also where the challenges are, especially where the challenges are. And that's when most people go away. That's when most people give up and stop and say, well, this just sucks. Clearly, God is not here. Clearly, I've left my greater self at the castaway. And it's not the case. And all you have to do today is make a decision, a conscious decision, to believe that, to know that, to get that so innately that the next time you do have a challenging moment in your life, you remind yourself, here too, God is expressing perfectly. God is unfolding perfectly. Ernest Holmes says, although the identity of God is the same in essence within all of us, it is not the same in degree. So when people say to me, well, how can that be God? Well, because the essence of God is the same, but the degree to which we use it shifts depending on the individual. That's why there are so many individual expressions. But the great thing about this, if the essence of God is the same in all of us, and it only shifts, it only gets determined by your degree of using, then use better. You've got the essence. We are all the essence of God. So if I decide to accept more into my life, if I decide to be more in my life, if I decide to be my greater self, recognizing I'm always that, then I shift the consciousness around me, within me, and I live a different life. The title of my talk today actually is not The Greater Self. It's Mama Said There'd Be Days Like This. And there are days, and there are days. And this week I had one of those days. And one of those days when I happened to step back and say, what the heck is this all about? You know, we had a movie shooting in our theater this week, and there were like 100, 200 people all over the building. And I felt, I was in my office at one point, and I literally felt like a swarm of bees were all around me. And they were shooting a Christmas Carol, so I'm hearing Father Time yell from the theater. And it was just a really interesting week, and just a really busy week. And I had to step back, and I did the same thing. I took a walk. I don't go to Starbucks much. I went to Starbucks a lot. And I walked to Starbucks, and as I'm walking, I'm like, life is unfolding perfectly. You are right in the middle of this hive of activity. What are you going to do with it? And I said, who created this day, James? And I said, Kevin. He booked that movie into this theater. Now, to be very honest for my husband, I did not say Kevin. It floated through my head very casually. Because we're both thrilled when someone shoots a movie in our theater. But I was like, who created this day? The answer had to be me. Because the answer to every question is one word, and what is that? Me. No, it's consciousness. Consciousness. So, what created this day? Consciousness. Days don't just happen. They don't. And anyone out there who still has that little bit of victim mentality hanging in there, saying, this just happened to me. This just in. This just happened to me. This just in. No, it didn't. You just created this day. You created this day. And Mama said there'd be days like this. Mama said, thank you. And they're created by me. But here's the great thing. I also had one of those days this week where I was inspired through the roof in ways I had never, ever been inspired before. And it came in the form of one brother Ishmael. Who was there on Wednesday night? Okay. So brother Ishmael came from the corners of Africa and brought his wisdom and his message and brought his energy and his love. And because we were in the middle of a movie, we were relegated to Theater 2, which has 45 seats, although there were 60 of us. Don't tell the fire department. And it was perfect. It was perfect that we were in that intimate room with this major mystic standing in our midst, just talking and talking, and from the heart, and his whole energy just washed over you. My cheeks were hurting from smiling for that entire service. I was like, the whole time I got done, I was like, wow, that hurts. And his energy, he hugged me, and I literally felt like electricity going through my body. And it's not that he said anything new to me, but he said it from a different place than I'd heard it before. And where it came from was the Father, Mother, God energy. And he then went out to dinner as I taught the 200 class, and came back and sat in the last half hour of the class. Or sat outside of it. Most of you didn't know he was in there. And at the end, I asked him to come in, he talked a little bit, and he prayed us out. And when he did, he asked us to put our Father on our left side and our Mother on our right. And when he said that, mine are both gone, but when he said that, the energy in the room just, it just became one energy. It was so beautiful. But he didn't stop there. He said, you put your father on your left side, put your father on the right, then put your father's father and your mother's mother, and your father's father's father and your mother's mother's mother. And now go back as far as you could possibly even imagine. And as he did that, I kept my eyes open. As he did that, I watched a room just suddenly turn into an aura of one color. And I got it. I went, oh my God. Yes, I'm an individualized expression of God, but I am the essence of God, and therefore I am that one breathtaking color. And I got unity and oneness in a way I had never gotten it before. And then he told the story about how Michael Beckwith showed up at his doorstep. But then he reminded me of an Ernest Holmes quote. And Ernest Holmes says that when you need something, no matter where it is, no matter how far away it is, no matter if it is in the farthest corner of Africa, if you demand upon conscious mind that this is your intention, whatever it is you need, no matter where it is, will show up. And as I stood there, this close to him, and watching all of you that were there, being part of his prayer, I realized that a prayer of mine had been answered, because it was an experience that I hadn't had of oneness. I understand oneness. I feel it often in my life, but I felt it that day, not by myself at the ocean feeling one with the universe, but feeling one with every person in that room in a way I hadn't before, and in a way that someone showed me before. And I realized that Ernest Holmes was right. A prayer that I've had for the 10 years of my ministry is, show me the more, show me the more, show me the more. And from the deepest corner of Africa came the more, not only to my building, but to stand next to me. And it was pretty spectacular. And Mama said there'd be days like these. Thank you. So yes, there are the days that are challenging. Does that mean that God is not there? No, it does not. Yes, there are days when Brother Ishmael shows up from Africa and reminds you that you are part of your ancestral history that goes back to the beginning of time. Does that mean there's more of God there? No, it doesn't. It just reminds me that I can stay there at all times, no matter what's going on. And it brought me to my mother. And my mother was such a partier. I mean, my mother was gorgeous. She looked like Elizabeth Taylor. And she would have won the Cleavage Award last night. And she was just, and would have showed you that. She was just so voluptuous and beautiful and gorgeous and smart-assed and sarcastic. And she was just, and a partier, like my dad could not keep up with her. She just partied until, everybody dropped. She'd still be awake. And I looked around and I saw my children, my mom and my dad, and my children, my mom and my dad, my mother, my daughter. I looked at my children and I thought to myself, there's my mother. There's my mother in a kilt. And there's my mother up on stage doing YMCA. And I got it. My mother, me, my daughter, my son, it's all one thing. My mother also took a lot of risks. She was a risk taker, and so am I. And I'm reading this book that Michelle gave me, The Exquisite Risk by Mark Nepo. And I had a couple quotes to give you today based on this. And one of them is, my purpose at last is to hold nothing back. I'll just think about that for a minute. My purpose at last is to hold nothing back. As I watched you all last night dancing, you were not holding anything back. And that's a good thing. So as we go through our life, how about really being cognizant of the idea, I hold nothing back. What is there for me to withhold? What am I holding it from? Why am I withholding it? Why am I withholding success from myself? Because if you're not experiencing it, you're withholding it from yourself because you're responsible to create it. Why are you withholding love from yourself? Because if you're not being loved and in a loving relationship with the universe, friends, lovers, then you are withholding it from yourself because it's your job to create it in your life, to allow it in your life. If you are not experiencing prosperity, and I mean money to spend on good things, if you are not experiencing that, then you are withholding it from yourself. So what are we withholding ourselves for? My purpose at last is to hold nothing back. And he goes on to say, my goal is to live 1,000 years, not in succession, but in every breath. How about that? So that every breath I take is 1,000 years. Because guess what? Every breath I take has at least 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, a billion, trillion, gazillion years behind it that have brought me to this moment. Nora and Will out there on the dance floor last night, and watching my husband with them, I was bursting. My heart was bursting. 2 years ago, I went to the gala having just had 52 lymph nodes removed from my neck. And I enjoyed the gala as best as I could. But there was a moment during that gala when I realized, I thought, is this my last gala? It's not. But, you had those thoughts, and I'm being honest with you. And then last year's gala, I showed up after a summer of a lot of interesting adventure. And I was sort of back on my feet, but still a little dizzy. Dizzier than I am normally. And it was a great gala, and I had a good time. This year, I was at the gala, fully present, completely, effortlessly, and fearlessly doing whatever came naturally. And I realized that at this point in my ministry, that's my job, to live like that. to show you that we can live like that, to ask you to give yourself that gift and to live like that. In The Exquisite Risk, he says, I meet each moment with all of who I am. And that's where I want to conclude. I meet every moment with all of who I am. Don't dole myself out based on how I feel. Feelings are highly overrated. Think about that. I think they're important. I'm very valid. I deal with feelings. But they're highly overrated in terms of what I really know. If I decide every feeling informs how I'm going to react and behave, what would life be like? An endless set of reactions. Which, unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's what life is, an endless set of reactions. But my job is to be the active ingredient of life where I am giving it all, I'm letting it all out, and I react from that place of knowing I am God. Not one with God, but one of God. And sharing that with everyone. The greater self, all of who I am, even on those days that Mama said there would be. I need to meet each moment with all of who I am. That, I believe, is what our calling is in this world. So as we celebrate the rest of this day, the rest of Mother's Day, I invite you to walk through this day with your father on one side and your mother on the other. With her father and their mother and their father on the other side. And put some of them right in front of you and look into their eyes. Put some of them behind you, knowing that they are the wind behind your back. Start to expand yourself. And know that whatever you need, even if it is in the farthest corner of Africa, it is on its way to you. And the only thing holding it up is your acceptance. Today is the day we get to mother ourselves back to a nurturing, accepting place where everything I am meant to be in the purposeful life that I am here to live comes to perfect fruition, and I spend it all. Namaste.